Hi, my name's Mandy from Mandy Sorts It Out, and this is my channel where I talk about things that I am in the process of sorting out. And I'm trying to sort out my spending because I was overspending, and I've done that by creating a budget, which I am now attempting to stick to. I'll post a picture of the budget up, so let me just move over. So this is my budget. You'll see I split it into housing costs, which are my monthly expenses that I can't really influence or affect too much: council tax, electric, water, rent and broadband. And then I've got my annual costs, some of which I can influence and some of which not so much. I've got car insurance, car tax, car MOT, car service, dental costs, spends on others, which are birthday presents for children. I don't give adults birthday presents. I think these days everyone buys what they like when they want it. So, and birthday and Christmas cards to children and adults. Then I've got travel to Bristol monthly. I travel down to Bristol to see my mum on average once a month. It costs £60 a trip, but I look at that annually because sometimes it may turn out that I take more than one trip a month, or it may turn out that I don't take any trips in a particular month. So I have an annual figure for that. Travel to see my son who lives overseas. Travel to see a friend who also lives overseas but not in the same place. And some money for when friends visit me or I visit them. I've got visits in July, September and March because those are visits I'm expecting to happen. They're not guaranteed. And there's probably a couple more visits around there. I think £300 isn't enough, but it's the budget I'm going to try to stick to. And £100 for clothes. And then I've got my monthly expenses. These are the ones that I can realistically do the most to keep low. I've got pay as you go on my phone, which I've got down to £5 a month, but there are times I have spent more on that, and I do have to be careful about it because at the moment my Wi-Fi is constantly dropping out, which means that if I have my mobile data on, I could be at home using mobile data thinking I'm using Wi-Fi, and I have gone through almost all my mobile data that way and had to buy more. So it's something that it needs to be on my mind. Toiletries and cleaning, food, petrol and incidentals. And then I've got a small category of miscellaneous items, which is my contents insurance, Microsoft 365 basic package that I pay once a year in March, and a power of attorney fee, which is hopefully coming due shortly, of £82. And the reason I'm drawing that to your attention is when I go through what I've spent, you will see the miscellaneous written down in that, and that just explains what that is. Okay, so let's get to what I've spent. Put that on the screen as well. This is for the period of 15th of July to the 21st of July. It's actually the 21st of July as I'm recording this, but I know I'm not going to spend any more money today. So that's fine. I'll go through the income first. I had a bank account that was paying interest daily. It originally was a very good bank account because it was over 5% interest. It's now gone down to 3.5% interest, which is exactly the same as I get on my NS&I Direct Saver account. So I've decided that because this interest thing coming in daily was a little bit irritating and annoying, trying to work out how much interest you'd had for a certain period, I've decided to close the account and move the money out. And I've actually done that. I've closed the account and the money is now gone from there. So it was 41p interest. I didn't note the interest last week, so that's over 2 weeks of interest. I didn't have very much in there. I sold an item on Vinted for £4.50. I sold a book on Vinted for £4 and another book for £1.20. And I had £83.93 pence bank interest on a monthly saver account where you're only allowed to put in a certain amount, but it is 5% interest on the amount you're allowed to put in. So I did that last year and it matured. That comes to £94.04. That isn't the entire story though, because the £4.50, what I sold was, it was a gadget that fixes snap fastenings to fabric. And I was given it along with some other craft items in a bundle that somebody didn't want. I got this offer for £4.50 and I thought, great, because I've had it months, it hasn't sold, I'll sell it. And then the person got it, took it home, confirmed the sale, and then contacted me and said, this doesn't work on the metal snaps I'm trying to use it with. And I've researched it and I think it only works on plastic snaps. And I was aware that he shouldn't have confirmed the sale until he had made sure he was happy with it. Because had he not confirmed the sale, then he could have returned it through Vinted. But because he had confirmed the sale, he couldn't. And I said to him, I'm happy to refund you. And he said, no, don't refund me. And I'll give it to my neighbour. She does crafts with children. I'll get myself something. And I was like, I feel awful about this. I'll give the money that you've paid for it to charity if you don't want it back. And he said, no, I didn't feel right about keeping the money. So I did make a donation. I made a £4.50 donation to Lend With Care. So housing expenses, I paid £97 to the council in this week. I made an overseas call, which was 60p, so that was an additional phone cost. And I bought flights to go see my son in November. That was £189.98. Food, I bought relatively little food. I bought a milkshake, that was £1.95 when I was doing a 2-hour journey, and I got really dry and claggy. I spent £9.50 on food for 3 days, and then I spent £12.95 on one meal. I went to help out family down south, and when I left, it was around dinner time, and it was a 2.5-hour trip, so I decided the best thing to do would be to stop in Gloucester Services, and I don't know if you've been there, but if you know, you know, and have one of their dinners. I think there was one cheaper, but I couldn't eat it because of health conditions. Then I bought some more toiletries and cleaning items. I don't know if these really come under toiletries and cleaning, but that's where I'm putting them. I got a hair grip for £1, which I was wearing in my video yesterday. And I got a box of, it wasn't this box, this is the box that's running out, lens cleaning wipes for £1.50 from Pound World. These are half full, so when I saw them, I thought yes, because I think these cost me £2.50. I hadn't been able to find the £1.50 ones in a pound shop for a while, so when I saw them, I thought I'm getting those. And then for the incidentals, I went to a chemist that was quiet and spoke to the pharmacist about indigestion remedies, because I have reflux and I no longer take prescription medication for it because that was not doing me any good, and it wasn't really working either. So I take over-the-counter remedies, but I have a health condition that means that these over-the-counter remedies are not particularly good for me. So I spoke to the pharmacist and said which did she think was the better thing to take, and she said milk and magnesia, which I did not have, so I bought some. And then when I travelled for 3 nights, and I normally take a towel and flannels with me, and I forgot to pack them. So while I was shopping and getting my food, I just bought a towel and 4 flannels for £5.10. And I bought petrol. I went down, as I said, to help family, and that was £28 and 4 pence of petrol. So in total, On my monthly expenses, I spent £67.13. My total spends for the month are £358.61. So looking at my monthlies, which are the ones I like to look at closely because they are the ones that I have overspent on in the past and I really like to control my spending on now. At the beginning of the month, I allocated myself £108 for food. I've spent £80.15 this month so far, and I've got £27.85 remaining. For petrol, at the start of the month, I allocated £35. I spent £44.98, which means that I've overspent by £9.98. I gave myself a budget of £50 for incidentals. At the start of the month, I spent £21.32 and I have £28.68 remaining. Toiletries and cleaning, I started the month with £23. I've spent £20.08 and I've got £2.92 remaining. And for phone, I've got a £5 budget. I've spent 60p, so I've got £4.40 budget remaining, which means that I will overspend this month because on the 28th of July, my current monthly payment comes to an end, and therefore I will buy another one for £5 and I will have spent £5.60, which would be a 60p overspend. But at the moment, it's fine. My budget was £221. I've spent £167.13. and I've got £53.87 remaining. And this is up to July the 21st. July the 21st is 2/3 of the month roughly, and I have spent more than 2/3 of the month. If it was 2/3, I would have spent double what is remaining, and I've spent far more than double what is remaining. I wonder if I'm going to go over this month because I have agreed to go back next weekend to help out family again. I have been underspending in previous months, so I'm just going to go with it and we'll see how things work out in the end. And looking at my annual budget, this is for the year from 1st of May 2025 to 30th of April 2026, I had income of £4,853.91, and I have a budget with my electric supplier of £69.31. And for the year, I allocated £300 for visits, haven't spent anything, £150 for dental, no spends so far, £1,133 for my car, no spends yet, and £151 for miscellaneous that I referred to earlier, no spends yet. For clothes, I allocated £100, I spent £4.50, so I've got £95.50 remaining because I haven't been able to get into that town to return the item I bought to the charity shop. I'm hoping to do that next week. It won't be this week. I have a friend coming to stay and then I'm driving back down to help family out. So it will be sometime next week. I believe from looking it up that I've got a month. Then for travel, I've got a budget of £980. I spent £189.98. So I've got £790 and twopence remaining. My gift budget of £730. I've spent £65 and 7p, and I've got £664 and 93p remaining. For my Bristol expenses, I had a budget of £720. I spent £119.59 and I've got £600 and 41p remaining. And if you're wondering why I haven't put my travel expenses this time into the Bristol budget, that Bristol budget is specifically to visit my mum. I often do visit nearby family at the same time, but that budget isn't to visit those family, it's to visit my mum. I didn't visit my mum this time. I literally just went to the family member who needed help and spent as much time as possible helping. And then I've got a housing budget of £10,968. I spent £2,739 and 93p, and I've got £8,228 and 7p remaining. For my annualised monthly budget of £2,652. I've spent £483.44, and I've got £2,168.57 remaining. And I've got donations, I've added it to this list. That just seems like the best thing to do. No budget, I spent £40.09, nothing remaining, because I haven't got a budget for donations. But I probably am going to make donations, but I'm just going to make them in sums that I see fit, at the times that I see fit, to the charities that I see fit to make the donations to. So that's my spends this week and how it relates to my annual budget. My income is £4,853.91. I spent £3,642.59. So I've got £1,210 over what I've spent. Long may it last, because I know that my car expenses are all sort of bunched up. A lot of those expenses are fairly close together, but I do have enough money to go see my son in November. I'm hoping by November I have built up more of a, I suppose it's a sinking fund, whatever a sinking fund is. I'm not particularly, I've never really heard that term before. I just think of it as savings. I've got £1,210 in savings that I know will go towards items on this budget, because otherwise I won't be doing everything I want to do. So yeah, at the moment I'm fairly happy, even with the additional spends this week, even though by the end of this month I may go over budget for the month, but I went under budget in previous months, so I don't know if I'm really that worried. And I thought I'd just clarify, because more people are watching, I'd clarify that I am aiming to create a video every week, at least for the lifetime of this budget, just to run through what my spends are and how it relates to my budget. And I shall do those budgets at the end of every 7th day in the month, every 14th, every 21st and every 28th day in the month. And then I'll do another one, end of month roundup at the end of each month. Of course, in February, if it's not a leap year, those will be on the same day. So that's my plan for my budgeting. I don't know if you have any questions for me on any items that I'm showing in my budget. I know there's a few people watching now, which I didn't have before. It's making me a little more self-conscious, but going to work through that. I am going to do another video this week, and I'm going to talk about my plans for retirement, because that's something I need to figure out, what my plans for retirement are. Just to say, apologies for the drilling sound. I didn't really notice it when I was filming. I hope it wasn't too intrusive. And I shall pop up my receipts at the end of the video. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting and maybe it's been of some use. And I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.